Today I will tell you why Blast will be flipping all blockchains this cycle, becoming #1 blockchain and sucking up to 50% of total value locked of Ethereum. Yes, you heard it right. It will flip Solana, it will flip Base, already did. It will flip Ton, already did as well. It will flip everything you have on the market currently as their blockchains, becoming largest total value locked blockchain after Ethereum. And here is why. I have a set of explanations because I was sharing things here and there in different videos, and I do understand it's quite complex in the first place, because the reason I understand this, the reason I can see these things is because I spent 6 long fucking years working, building a business from scratch, a custom software development company, international one with 150 employees, working with governments and largest enterprises, mostly in the West, in the US and Western Europe. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I've been through hundreds of projects, hundreds of founders, hundreds of ecosystems. I see these things early specifically because of it, and I will be sharing them with you today. And you might think, oh, I don't need to watch this video, it's probably not that interesting and things like that. Kill this voice inside you. This is the largest opportunity of this cycle. This is like investing in CZ, in Binance, way early in the process. The same as Luke Belmar did, along with Andrew Tate. They were making $130 million last cycle because they invested in CZ and Binance ecosystem early, PancakeSwap and other projects on it as well. This is the same type of opportunity. Understanding this opportunity, recognizing what's more important, being able to hold, will bring generational wealth this crypto cycle. Let's actually start. You can see the structure of this video here, and what's interesting is I would essentially be sharing these from a point of view of VC. So if you're a venture capitalist, this type of analysis would be quite familiar to you in the first place, right? It's not your influencer crypto bro who is saying Andrew Tate launched a coin on Solana, so that's why Solana will be doing very well. What type of fucking analysis is this in the first place? I will share everything clearly with the facts, with my opinion, with industry standards, with revenue, with numbers. So you will understand specifically what the fuck is actually happening right now. We will start with the developers, because you cannot underestimate developers. You need to understand that the reason you were able to rob hardworking men from Middle West in single months is because Russian dev with his company developed infrastructure for the success of Bonk. Nothing would be happening in fucking Solana without it. It would just go to zero. Zero, where it will eventually be. Solana is just a shitcoin. You should know it. All this scammy behavior was enabled on Solana by Russian dev and his company, market maker, who was able to develop infrastructure for Solana in the first place. Develop. The most important word here, develop. He with his developers. A chain to be successful needs to attract devs. It needs to attract dev talent to build stuff on chain, so it will actually acquire total value locked and it will acquire users as well. Blast at this stage has the best network effect out there. Not the network effect for your degens to buy into some scammy Memecoins to get dumped and absolutely cockled by the influencers, right? Not this type of network effect. No one needs this network effect. It's just born dead in the first place, right? Blast has network effect for the engineers. The main thing of this network effect is that Blast is actually giving away 100% of fees generated by an application that the developer has developed, like some kind of protocol, some kind of game, anything you pretty much see on chain. 100% of these fees are getting redistributed back to the developer. 100%. On ETH, they're receiving nothing. On Solana, they're receiving nothing as well. On Base, they're receiving nothing. They can set things up in ways so they can add additional markup in each transaction by themselves in smart contracts, right? But people generally don't like it. On Blast, 100% of development fees are going back to the developers. Friend built an app on Blast Layer 2 that earned $380,000 in revenue over 3 weeks, 21 days. No token, just pure fees, baby. No need to launch the token. Fuck with the liquidity pools, with people who are not happy because the price of the token is going down and things like that. Buy these scam influencers to shill your crap. You need to understand that this way of monetization is actually will be dying out. It's interesting because I just understood this thought when recording this video. The way of monetization through token will be dying out if 100% of fees for transactions will actually get distributed back to engineers, to developers, as we have in Blast. Imagine the skill set that is required on top to actually pump your own token. Run it, deal with all these people, all this scammy, shady stuff in this space. You give some supply to someone, they're dumping it right away. Just so fucking stupid in the first place. No token, just pure fees, baby. Meanwhile, my enterprise SaaS friends are grinding hard to break $100,000 annual recurrent revenue. Well, you know what does it mean? ARR. It means $100,000 of revenue on the course of 12 months, which is around $8,000 a month of the most boring dry tech imaginable. Probably some useless integration to QuickBooks, so some fat accountant can speed up his process and save 30 minutes of time in a day, and constantly sit in customer support asking stupid questions and asking for new functionalities. So you either need to talk to him all the time or hire additional customer support person, increasing your burn rates for your company. Study having fun. Man, this is just so crazy. This is the best network effect out there. You know, we have Apple, we have Amazon, we have Google, we have Facebook. Reasons they are trillion-dollar companies is because they actually allow people to develop products in their ecosystems. Main success for Apple was actually App Store. The reason it was main success is because they actually allowed devs to receive money from the App Store. Apple is taking 30% of fees themselves. They're only leaving 70% of all the fees, of all the purchases, not just fees, all the purchases. If you're doing an App Store purchase of $12, $4 of it is going straight to Apple directly. Dev is only receiving $8. Best case scenario. And ecosystem just blowed up, just right from this action actually happening. Google eventually implemented the same thing as well. On Blast, 100% of fees is getting redistributed back to the developers. And on top of it, this is a highly financialized industry. People are very, very fine here in the first place to spend way more money that they're spending on the App Store. Like, I was playing Play to Earn games last cycle. I remember I bought $8,000 worth of NFT characters in one of the games over the course of 3 to 4 days, because I thought that I had this mind frame, oh, this is an investment. I will actually be playing and earning when I'm playing, right? And it all went to zero, right? But people have different mindset. They would be willing to spend way more money in the first place. This is the best network effect you can only have in any type of chains. None of the chains actually have it. And you can actually vividly see it. You cannot just listen to me here, right? How many dApps, how many decentralized applications you can actually see that are migrating to Blast already from Ethereum, from other layer 2s. It's just so crazy to see in the first place. And this trend will only be increasing moving forward because devs care for fees. This is a crazy revenue generation source. They won't need to deal with these shady, scammy market makers, with these marketing people that attract these influencers, because you have to understand the main way to monetize for dev before was actually to create the token of the project. And he needed to pump the token of the project, which does not add value into the ecosystem. It does not add value into the equation, because instead of actually focusing on delivering value with your product, so more users would actually use it, and you will be getting and gathering transaction fees. You are thinking about setting this whole thing up to pump the price of the token. This is the behavior that specifically actually punishes the product in the first place. And here on Blast, we have incentives aligned. Devs are motivated to have as much people as they only can to really use the product so they can gather that transaction fees in the first place. I don't think you understand how huge this is, and it's fine. I am talking to engineers for the last 10 years of my life. It's fine that you do not understand this. Again, this is industry changing. This is absolutely changing the fucking industry. This is democratization and decentralization that we were all dreaming, if you were dreaming about it, and not dreaming about scamming people out of the savings, right? For so many years. This is divine. This will be blowing up like crazy. You have to follow the devs. Listen to influencers from the last cycle. Listen to JR and Y, who made his tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. He's not even working on his channel currently because he made it. And he was saying, you need to follow the developers first. Ecosystems that attract developers, they will be thriving. What type of devs you have on Solana? Only guys who are building infrastructure for Memecoin trading for robbing people? What type of devs you have on Base? Do you have any? There is zero devs on Base. Point number 2, whales. We have to understand why a new layer 2 such as Blast was created in the first place. And you can see that this is the first question that they're responding to on their documentation about Blast. This is the first question. Do you actually see this question being responded to by any fucking layer 2? Anywhere? On the website, in the interviews? No. You know why? Because most of them are fucking pump and dumps of this cycle. Pure vaporware that got inflated with hundreds of millions of dollars for marketing money. They will be spending like 5 million on development, and they will be spending 395 million on marketing, just pumping up the price of the token and dumping. Or at least this is something that they are planning to do. But I think they made a mistake that a lot of retail investors made as well. They thought that something that worked last cycle would be working this cycle as well. And they are in fear currently. They are scared shitless right now. Because this thing will be flipping it all and will be sucking in all of the liquidity of these fucking greedy VCs that just came here to scam people. Why new layer 2? After the merge, Ethereum provides 4% yield on Ethereum. On-chain T-bill protocols provide 5% yield on stablecoins. If users do not match or beat this race, they are losing money to a form of inflation. Layer 2s today do not have this yield. Incorporating Ethereum and stablecoins coin yield natively requires a new layer 2 designed from the ground up. Blast is an EVM-compatible, optimistic rollup that raises the baseline yield for users and developers without changing the experience crypto natives expect. This yield make it possible to create new business models for dApps that aren't possible on other layer 2s. Partially, the reason 100% of fees are actually distributed back to developers is the reason that the chain has layer 2. Partially, the reason why transaction fees are getting distributed back to developers is this enablement of yield. If you would just put your Ethereum on Blast the same way you would put it on Base, right? Just have it in your wallet. You would be already receiving passively 4% yield on your Ethereum, beating the inflation that Ethereum has currently for people that are staking Ethereum. But in order to stake, they're locking up the Ethereum, right? Here you can just put it in your wallet just on Blast's network, and it will be generating yield. Same thing with stablecoins, 5% right away. And you don't need to lock them up anywhere in the protocol that can get scammed. You just put them on chain and you can use them. And if you want, because you need to understand what actually this sentence means. Because if you want, you put them on chain, you receive 5% yield already, right? And you can add them after that into some liquidity pool, into some protocols who would be farming additional yield, but on top of this 5% yield. It's a multiplication right way because they have implemented this on chain. This yield makes it possible to create new business models for dApps that aren't possible on other layer 2s. Do you understand how revolutionary this is? I will provide you an example closer to the end of this video as well. This is so crazy. And that's why I have whales as the second point of the whole thing. Do you think that whales will put There are hundreds of millions of dollars in Ethereum on Solana. No way. It's a centralized piece of crap that was stopped multiple times already. No way in the first place. If you would check like TVL of Solana currently, let's actually do that. If you can check TVL of Solana currently, you can see that it adds $4 billion and TVL of Blast is at $2 billion at this stage, according to DeFi Llama, because some sources actually saying that it's at $3 billion. Your Solana, that each and every influencer is screaming to you, trying to scam you out of your money, scam you into retirement, right? It has TVL 2 times larger than Blast. And yet your influencer is fucking silent about Blast. Because most of them, unfortunately, they are stupid. And the main reason for that is because if someone is popular, he's popular because he's relevant to the large amount of people. And large amount of people, unfortunately, are not that smart in the first place. Usually when the person is popular, that means that he is a pure copy of the largest amount of population. You need to understand these things as well. So we already have a proof from the marketplace that Ethereum whales are quite comfortable with bridging the Ethereum to Blast because they created a TVL larger than on Base even before the launch of the chain, even before the launch of Blast. This is so crazy to see, actually, to see this in the first place and understand this. And no one is talking about it. Your favorite crypto bro, he's silent, but he will be talking in 1 month, and you will be coming to this channel and you will be asking Stan, how the fuck you're always front running the market? Point number 3, which is not very intuitive for most people, but this is, I would say, this is one of the core expertises that I essentially have through being able to value tech companies properly, because I own one and we are developing a bunch of software for 50 plus companies in parallel at the same time, right? $20 million raised for Blast. You can see total raise $20 million. Do you know how much Arbitrum raised? We can check out how much they raised. Arbitrum actually raised $123 million. Do you know how much Linea actually raised? Linea raised $700 million. Something like Sui. Do you know how much Sui raised? $385 million. Do you know the main reason why they raised this amount of funds? Do you need this amount of funds to develop a software like this? Let me tell you, I have 150 people that work in my company. Most of them are engineers. You don't need this fucking money, this amount of money to actually develop like a blockchain. Most of them, even Blast in the first place, they're just using existing technology stack. Pretty much just use it, you tweak it, you add some things, you work on some things, and you're ready to go, right? Just forks of stuff that is existing already. None of them are developing these things from scratch in the first place. Both Base and Blast, they're using OP stack, Optimism, layer 2 technology stack in the first place, right? Therefore, you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to develop layer 2 or develop a blockchain from scratch. Right? Because technology is already there. You're pretty much just customizing and tweaking some things, and maybe you would want to add something that no one had before, right? Like native yield or 100% of fees back to developers, and no one will have. Why it's so fucking bullish that they only raised $20 million is because they won't be bitches of VCs. It's because if you're raising hundreds of millions of dollars from venture capitalists, you're becoming their bitch right away. And they will want to make ROI on their money, return on investment. They would want to have their money back. Therefore, you're forced to actually make a pump and dump in the first place, so they will be receiving their money back. These guys are confident in their marketing abilities as well, because you cannot market the project worldwide with this amount of funds in the first place. And the reason they are confident is because with Blur, which is the first crypto project of the founder of Blast, Pacman, they were able to take 80% of total NFT market share in less than 1 year. This is just so crazy. Like, if you're a venture capitalist, if you're an investor, you understand like how bullish this is, how bullish that founder of something like this is building something else in this space. He's using exactly the same tactics that worked before. On top of it, he's democratizing things, he's decentralizing things, and he is actually allowing, he's sharing with people in the ecosystem, benefiting them for using the ecosystem. And it's not a Ponzi. I will show you everything. It's not coming from some type of like Luna, right? Like the more people join, the better it is. Then it crashes. No. 4% yield and 5% yield is risk-free yield in the United States of America based on the bonds, right? Previous success. I already showed you Blur, but you cannot underestimate these things. So you need to understand that most founders in our space, they come in, they do pump and dump, they made tens of millions, they leave. None of them would actually be interested to develop something after that. Pac-Man and Blast team are very, very few who are actually doing that. They're not performing a pump and dump. They are actually coming in with Ethereum layer 2, with proper reason behind them, with revolutionary traits of this Ethereum layer 2, using the mechanisms that help them to push Blur and take 80% of the market share. You cannot neglect this previous success. All other chains there, in comparison, they just suck ass. It's like, imagine Vitalik coming and developing Ethereum layer 2. This would be something similar to Pac-Man working on Blast currently. You cannot underestimate these things in the first place. 5. Users. The whole ecosystem is structured in a way that people are actually incentivized to use this ecosystem, to transact, to create volume, to use the dApps, because it actually have airdrops. The airdrop that we will be having in 6 days from now is just first one of them. The whole ecosystem is specifically set up in a way to make sure that users are incentivized through the usage of decentralized applications or just by holding the assets on the chain. This is the main utility for whales in the first place, right? And the reason they can do something like this is because they actually have a real revenue sources. Real revenue sources, ways to generate money. Not a fucking Ponzi. It does not base, it's not based on new people constantly joining in. Because you need to understand these things. It's very, very simple. They have 4% yield for Ethereum stored on chain. And they pretty much have this TVL on chain. What if in reality they just made it 4.2% yield? And they're giving 4% yield to the final owner, to the final user, and they just take 0.2% to themselves. On 2 billion TVL, 3 billion by certain sources, this is fuck ton of money. It will be enough for them, and it actually helps so much to grow the whole ecosystem. It's just so crazy. Do you actually see that the chain is set up in a way to benefit all of the participants of the chain? And the main reason, the main way how it was achieved in the first place is through real source of generating revenue, through yield, and through sharing this source. Because you have transaction fees that are generated by other blockchains as well, but they're not set up in a way that they're benefiting all of the entities present in the infrastructure. They're benefiting certain entity, usually miners, right? This is just a crazy network effect. It's not just about developers, it's about users, it's about whales, it's about the team as well. It's like gamified great piece of technology, you know? Number 6 is liquidity. Devs are hunting for liquidity. Traders are hunting for liquidity. We do see that liquidity is at 2 billion currently. Again, by certain sources, I saw that it is at 3 billion already. We have to compare it to what we have. We have Solana that is being screamed about everywhere, best token of this run. No one the fuck understands that a Russian guy just developed infrastructure, and that's why it's at these prices. No one the fuck understands this, right? Only I tell you about this. $4 billion in total value locked. We have 2 or 3 billion on Blast. Do you understand the upside? Do you understand that no one the fuck talking about these things? Because they don't understand shit. They will come once it's obvious. From one point of view, it's quite smart because you don't have to bet on risky things in the first place, right? You only come in when something is proven already, which is quite smart. You kind of can do that if you already have the following, if you already have certain resources. It's actually quite fine because there are different type of approaches you have to take in different modes of you either trying to preserve the capital or make the capital. There are a bit like 2 different ways. And if something is not proven, you would not want to come with your audience to this chain to milk your audience in the first place, right? Because it might be risky. Maybe this chain will actually milk your audience instead of you. You don't want it, right? Therefore, they are coming to things when they are proved. They are proved already. Same thing that happened with Base. First, the Base thesis got proved by Toshi, and then a bunch of people came to Base right after it. Before that, not all the things were happening there. Arbitrum, which is advertised as largest Ethereum layer 2, pump and dump, like pure just pump and dump. I should feel of Blast should be around 3 billion at this stage. I saw it in some sources. Binance Smart Chain 5 billion, 2 times more than Blast at this stage. That was overtaking everything, just everything in the last cycle. From Binance, man, it's just so crazy to see. Tron, obviously as well, people just sending USDT using Tron. And we have Ethereum with 60 billion in TVL right at this stage. Blast, if it's at 3 million, it already has 5% of Ethereum TVL. My projection is that Blast will be acquiring at least 50% of Ethereum TVL closer to the end of this cycle. Robinhood. This is something I wanted to share as well. I asked ChatGPT why Robinhood succeeded. Point number 1, zero commission trading. Robinhood was one of the first brokerages to offer zero commission trading, which was highly attractive to retail investors. This disruptive pricing model forced other brokerages to follow suit, but Robinhood maintained its competitive edge by being the pioneer. So if you don't know, Robinhood is an application to be able to buy and sell stocks, and you also have some cryptos in Robinhood as well, right? The reason they were able to provide zero fees and overtake disgustingly large market share because of it. Because usually when things like this happening, other companies, they're just lagging for some time. They're saying, oh, it probably won't be happening, they will die out, it does not work with our financials, we will just close our company if we would be doing the same thing. So probably they're just spending a bunch of money for marketing, and at a certain point they will stop doing that, right? But this is not the case when your ecosystem is set up in a way that is allowing for this. Robinhood was able to have zero commission for traders on the platform is because they actually pushed this commission on the market makers. Market makers were the one who were actually paying this commission instead of traders, which was accepted by the market because market makers received way more volume. So they pretty much just had an option to make way more money with way more volume coming through the product. This is exactly the same thing that if you would think about that Blast is doing as well. This is a revolutionary type of mechanism that is exactly focused on acquiring larger market share. And it's not like they're burning hundreds of millions of dollars, like doing certain service, like when Uber is coming to certain countries and you have some local taxi applications there, what Uber is doing is it's dumping the price. But it's dumping the price just through burning money, right? It's not that healthy, and they cannot be doing it forever. But if you have the ecosystem change, set up in a way that it actually allows you to do that, your competition can fucking do nothing. They can just put your dick in their asses and fuck off from this market, giving their market share to you in the first place. Because you're coming with something revolutionary. And speaking of blockchains, I doubt that others would actually be able to implement this even, because it's an ultimate innovation. In one of the Pac-Man interviews that I'm watching, and you are not, I am watching them, he was saying that this is an innovation that was enabled due to one of the recent updates of Ethereum. That's why none of the layer 2s actually have it. And that's why it's actually a technical innovation, because if you're coming with something like this into the marketplace, you want to have benchmark that is hard to reach for your competition in the first place. Because if you're coming into something like your competition can just implement the same thing in 2 days, that's not the edge. You would not be able to take crazy amount of market share because of it. But I'm saying that most of them, they are behind at this stage. Most of them, they will be losing to Blast. They're already losing. You just don't see it yet because you're not following, and probably active followers of this channel you see it, but most of the market, they're waiting for their favorite crypto bro to eventually switch to Blast, right? TVL already shows this. This is not just me saying this, like it would be new and with zero date if I would be doing a video like this 5 months ago, right? But it's just so crazy for me to see and understand that the market is still sleeping on this thing. It's very, very fucking obvious for me at this stage that Blast will be overtaking all the blockchains this cycle through the way the ecosystem is set up. There is no alternative on the marketplace at this stage. There is no fucking alternative. Every other chain will become irrelevant because they're already behind. Indian Blast holders receiving $500,000 plus just for holding a meme. Other meme holders were receiving it as well. I'm speaking about other meme holders of some memes on Blast, because memes like Pac-Moon and Pew, they won jackpots 3 times. Indian Blast just recently won jackpot 1 time, which resulted in holders of a meme token on Blast making conservatively $500,000 just for holding a meme token on chain. And your influencers, they are still sleeping on it. Imagine something like this happening on Solana shitcoin, on Base shitcoin. How? Like, they would be screaming at the top of the lungs. They will just flood crypto Twitter and YouTube. They will just be screaming, 500K, we are going to $10 fucking billion. Imagine this happening on something like Solana. And it cannot be happening on something like Solana because it's not set up in a way. It's that chain fucking shitcoin. It doesn't work properly. It's a centralized piece of garbage. It will be dead. The only reason that is pumping is because Russian dev developed infrastructure and pushed bonk. Russian dev company, market makers, got bit. And interesting thing is that 99% of the market does not understand it. They are saying that it pumped because Ansem pushed it and because he pushed with. What a fucking circus. Point number 9. Summing up point number 8, there is no fucking competition. If you would think of Base, well, yeah, but nothing is happening there. There are no devs. It's scammy, just a bunch of scam influencers. And this narrative of dumping on retail, man, it's heavily priced in at this stage. I don't believe that it will be playing out the way that people think it will be playing out. It's a psyop that is getting weaker every day, and you need a better psyop. And the better psyop is the psyop of Blast. Speaking of tone, as some people are seeing this as alternative, Kyle Chesso was speaking about it recently. I will tell you something that you will not hear anywhere as well. Tone is a bet of Trump winning the election on the United States. It's not like your Trump coins like on Ethereum, right? Because your Trump coins after the elections, they will probably die out right away, even if he will get elected. But if Trump gets elected, your best Trump beta out there on the market that will survive long term if Trump actually gets elected is Ton. The main reason for that is because Pavel Durov did an interview with Tucker Carlson, heavily speaking positively about Republicans. And we have to understand that Ton is Russian chain. I'm speaking about a lot of Russians in this video, but you have to understand I'm not Russian myself, right? I don't think that this interview was just done just for the sake of it, because these guys, they would not be lifting a fucking finger without like talking about tens of billions of dollars, if not even more. I do think that the core thing about the interview, that it was directed on the US people who can elect voters, right? And he was speaking how Republicans are good and Democrats are bad, right? And I do believe that the deal that kind of silently was made is that US will not fuck with Ton if Trump wins, as Durov endorsed Trump, and potentially allow for the ETF for Ton in 2025. Imagine the size of the circus. In 2017-18, they banned like Ton blockchain, and right now they will like, there is a real high fucking chance in this current reality, I'm saying this to you, for Ton to have an ETF in 2025, right? The main issue that I see there is because, honestly speaking, you're quite late to Ton, right? Because Russian-speaking guys, they were buying Ton at $1, $2, and West is still kind of like only figuring this out. Like, what you only will serve, you will serve exit liquidity to that part of the world. Because you have to understand that Ton retail phase is already happening in Russian-speaking countries. Retail in Russian-speaking countries is already buying Ton. This is what is happening, and you're only figuring this out. So the deal that Durov made with Trump is use average US Joe from Midwest as exit liquidity for average Ivan Russian from Moscow for Ton. And it's also public knowledge that, well, not that public because you would probably not hear it anywhere as well, is that 90% of supply of Ton is being held in top 100 wallets. A bunch of them are connected to Russian mafia as well. You can figure out and try to check out whose money Trump was using when building some buildings in New York. I can give you a hint. There were some wise guys from Brighton Beach with thick accent. So it's all very fucking interesting how it all actually combined, right? If you thought that I'm showing allegiance or disallegiance to anything, to any parties, I'm not. I'm just sharing my thoughts here, right? Number 9, real revenue, not as scammy Ponzi as everything else. So here I have to show you something from Pac-Man himself. There is a meme going around that Blast is a Ponzi. The yield that Blast provides users can feel too good to be true. So this meme is understandable. But to put it simply, the yield Blast provides comes initially from Lido and MakerDAO. Lido yield comes from Ethereum staking yield, which is part of Ethereum's proof of stake consensus mechanism. Yield for Ethereum in this case is coming from Ethereum itself. MakerDAO yield comes from on-chain T-bills. T-bills are debt obligations from US government. They are central to how the US economy works. These yields are not unsustainable. They are a core component of the on-chain and off-chain economy. The reason the yield feels too good to be true in Blast is because Blast makes this yield the default for everyone. It gives users yield that was hiding in plain sight, in effect democratizing higher yield. So it actually based on real risk-free US yield through real-world assets protocols and through Ethereum staking, which is essentially enabled on-chain already. And you might think that like largest competitor to Blast is Base at this stage. Interesting thing with Base is that it's quite West focused. Like I don't see Asia using Base, right? And Pac-Man himself, he's half Asian. So half Chinese, I do believe. So like they're definitely taking care about that part of the world as well, because they do understand what type of liquidity is actually situated and focused there. And you might say, well, they have this native yield implementation. What if others would essentially implement this as well? And you have to understand the alpha that I'm actually sharing to you. It's just so crazy at this stage. So crazy to see these things and so crazy to understand what is happening. Like I have a true belief that's based on me being in the industry, based on my work, based on me being software engineer by myself, that this thing, it pretty much already overtaken, right? But it will be overtaken way more, way heavier moving forward, because the market is still sleeps on it. And once people actually understand this, and when I'm explaining this to some people I know, whales, they ask, wow, I should probably just buy Blast on TG and just hold it. You're right, you can do that. Or you can buy a leverage that will appreciate in value way more. Top meme on the chain. It's the hottest narrative in the hottest segment of the market, performing the best on the hottest blockchain. Boys Club, Pepe, original one, the first one, and on Blast. It's a meme. Memes are common. They were best performing assets in the last cycle so far. They are best performing assets by far this cycle as well. And on the best chain, it will be attracting the largest amount of TVL. And if you don't believe that, it's already flipped base, already up only from here. Thank you very much for watching this video. I will be seeing you tomorrow.